You know, we all love personality tests, right? They give us this language to kind of figure ourselves out. But what if the very foundation of these tests, what if it's missing something really, really crucial? Well, we're about to dive into a new framework called the P.E.P.S.I model, and it promises a much deeper, more useful map of who you actually are.
So have you ever taken a personality test? You get the results and you're like, okay, yeah, that's accurate, but it feels a little, I don't know, a bit sterile. Or maybe you've done one of the other kinds, the ones that feel really meaningful, but then you find out experts kind of dismiss them as unscientific. That feeling right there, that something's missing, that's exactly where our story starts. The whole world of personality assessment is basically split right down the middle. On one side, you've got the scientist's model, the Big Five. You probably know it as OCEAN. I mean, it is statistically rock solid. It tells you what you are, like you're in the 85th percentile for conscientiousness, but it doesn't really get into the why. And then on the other side, you have these archetypal models, like Myers-Briggs. They feel super rich with meaning, but let's be honest, they often lack scientific validity. So we're kind of stuck choosing between sterile data and these really cool but unreliable stories. So the big question is, how do we bridge that gap? Well, this is where the P.E.P.S.I model comes in. It stands for the Psycho-Elemental Personality Synthesis Inventory. Bit of a mouthful, I know. But it's designed to do exactly that, to synthesize the cold, hard science with the intuitive soul of archetypes. The core idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's also kind of profound. The P.E.P.S.I model takes the big five personality traits and it sets neuroticism aside for just a minute. Don't worry, we'll get back to that. And it maps the other four, what we can call the big four, directly onto the classical elements: fire, air, water, and earth. It's a really bold move, right? Connecting modern psychometrics with ancient wisdom. So first up, fire. It's mapped to extroversion. And this just makes perfect intuitive sense, doesn't it? Fire is all about radiant energy, will, outward action. It's like the engine of our personality, the thing that pushes us out into the world.
And from that fiery energy, we move into the realm of air, which gets mapped to openness to experience. Think about it. Air is expansive, it's formless. It's the world of thought and ideas and intellect. It really represents our mental flexibility and our curiosity about everything. Then, of course, you've got the element of connection, water. This represents agreeableness. Water is all about flow, empathy, and those emotional bonds that tie us all together. It's really what governs how we harmonize and connect with other people.
And finally, grounding this whole thing is Earth, which is mapped to conscientiousness. Earth is stable, it's solid, it provides structure. This lines up perfectly with the discipline, the reliability, and the sense of order that define a conscientious personality. So here you can see it, the whole model, with the four elements surrounding the central core. What this gives us is a system with all the statistical power of the Big Four, but with the rich, symbolic language of the elements. It's a truly unified map. But honestly, this is just the beginning. Okay, so now we get to the first major innovation of the P.E.P.S.I model. And this is where it gets truly groundbreaking. We're talking about its unique measurement scale. You see, traditional tests, they score you from low to high, say 0 to 100. But the P.E.P.S.I model says that just saying low isn't specific enough. Instead, it uses a scale that goes from -50 all the way to +50. And this is key, there's no 0 point. This forces a distinction between a healthy, adaptive expression of a trait and an unhealthy, maladaptive one. It's not just about the quantity of your energy, it's about the quality of that energy. And here's the perfect example of why that distinction matters so much. Let's take introversion. Standard tests just call it low extroversion. But think about it. Are quiet confidence and crippling shyness really the same thing? Of course not. In the P.E.P.S.I model, they are fundamentally different. A healthy introvert has low, positive fire, like a quiet, steady warmth. But someone with social phobia has high, negative fire. Their energy has turned inward and become this destructive, fearful state. This distinction, well, it's everything.
Let's look at the two sides of each element. Positive fire, that's the hero archetype, charismatic, courageous. But negative fire, that becomes the tyrant, aggressive, domineering, a wildfire just burning completely out of control.
For air, the positive side is the visionary, innovative and super clear-headed. The negative side, though, that's the nihilist, totally disconnected from reality, lost in this ivory tower of arrogant intellect.
Water's positive expression is the healer, truly empathetic and nurturing. But in its negative form, it twists into the martyr, using codependency and emotional manipulation to try and control other people. And finally, we have positive Earth. That's the builder, reliable, disciplined, creating stable, useful structures. Negative Earth is the stone, rigid, judgmental, and completely stagnant, turning all that helpful structure into a prison. All right, remember that fifth trait we set aside earlier, neuroticism? Let's get back to that. Because the P.E.P.S.I model has a really radical take on this. It doesn't treat it as a core trait, but as something else entirely. See, in this system, neuroticism isn't some fundamental part of who you are. It's an emergent property. The best analogy is to think of it like smoke coming from a faulty engine. It's a sign that the whole system is failing. It's the direct result of the friction between your negative, maladaptive elemental energies. So you don't have neuroticism. It happens when your core traits are out of balance. And here's how it works in practice. Different combinations of these negative elements create what the model calls toxic compounds. So for example, high negative fire, that aggressive energy, combined with high negative water, that oversensitivity, creates a super high-risk volatility profile. This is your classic drama personality, right? And it emerges as a calculated outcome of the system.
So we have this incredible new map of the psyche. It's fascinating. But you know, a map is only useful if you can actually use it to get somewhere. So how do we put this all into practice? Let's just look at a sample profile here for a volatile creative. You can see this person has very high positive air, so they're super innovative, full of ideas. But they also have high negative fire and water, which makes them impulsive and moody. And the result of that combination, a high emergent neuroticism score. See, this isn't just a label, it's a diagnostic blueprint. It shows you exactly where the work needs to be done.
And this is so important. Personal growth in this model isn't about changing your fundamental nature. An introvert does not need to become an extrovert. Instead, the goal is what the system calls elemental alchemy, transmuting the quality of your energy from its negative, shadow expression to its positive, light expression. It's all about becoming the best possible version of your unique elemental makeup.
And that really brings us to the most important part of all of this, your own journey. This model isn't just some abstract theory. It offers a really powerful new path to self-understanding and a real, tangible growth. So here's the final takeaway I want to leave you with. Your personality is not some fixed destiny that's set in stone. It's a dynamic system of energies. And this map shows you that you have the power to shift those energies from their shadow side into their light. So the only question left is, what element will you work on first?